Hello, Sarah Evelyn. I've got a new recording set up, so let's see how this works. Let me know. First things we're going to talk about today is factoring, because that's what we're doing in class right now, and I think I can get you caught up in one video. Let's see how this works. First things first, if I gave you a number like 25, my question would be, how would you factor this number? So if you've done factor trees in the past, my assumption is that you'd think, okay, what times what gives me 25? The obvious answer first is 5 times 5, right? But for this, we're going to have to think more than that. So what else times what else is going to give me 5 times 5? Well, 25 times 1 comes to mind for me. You can never forget that. So I'm assuming you can factor like this. Say, okay, what times what gives me 25? Let's try 30. What times what gives me 30? I'm assuming the first thing you could think is 30 times 1. That's always an option. Maybe 10 times 3. Okay. Maybe 15 times 2. That works. Anything else? Correct. I feel like Dora the Explorer now. We've got 5 times, is it 6? Yeah. 5 times 6. Great. Shortcut for getting this done, in case you didn't know, is to divide every number that I tell you to factor by numbers starting from 1 and going up. Usually, by the time you get to 12, you'll have hit every factor. So for 30, I could think, well, let me give you a different example. Let's say, this board is very wobbly. Let's say a bigger number like, I don't know, 60. Well, then I'd say, okay, start with 1. I know there's 1 times 60. Then what's above 1? 2. Does 2 go into 60? Yes. How many times? 2 goes into it 30 times. What's after 2? 3. Does 3 go into 60? Yes. How many times? 20. What about 4? Does 4 go into 60? And as we get bigger, we'll probably need to use a calculator for some of these to speed it up. But it's 4 times 12. Then we go above 4, it's 5. 5 goes into 60. Actually, that's 12. It's 4 times, wow, am I dumb? Apparently. 15. 4 times 15, 5 times 12. Does 6 go into 60? Yes. How many times? 10 times. And now we reach a break point where we say, all right, the only numbers I can pick from are between 6 and 10. Does 7 go into 60? No. Does 8? No. And does 9? No. So we're done. These numbers start far apart, 1 and 60, and then they get closer together, 4 and 15, closer together, 5 and 12, and then closest together, 6 and 10, until you're out of factors. This is standard factoring. This was a review. I hope you know this. If you need more review, let me know. What we're doing is saying, all right, I'm not just going to factor one number. I'm going to factor multiple numbers. And in fact, what I'm going to be factoring is x squared minus 25. So my question is, all right, if we're factoring more than one thing, how do we factor more than one thing? Well, we need to figure out what times what gives me 25 and what times what gives me x. The answer to all of these is going to look like this at the end. These are called binomials because they're going to have two numbers in each one. Binomial here and a binomial here. We just don't know what numbers yet. So my question is, what are factors of x squared? What times what gives me x? Well, I hope you remember that x times x gives me x squared because this is little x to the 1, this is little x to the 1. When you multiply them, you add the exponents, so x times 1 times x to the 1 gives me x to the 2. So that, since x squared is my first number, my first factor in my binomials is x times x. You may have also seen this called reverse FOILing. Now we're going to factor 25. What times what gives me 25? We did this earlier. It's 25 times 1 and 5 times 5. Now we have to combine these middle terms, or these terms, to give us a middle term. Okay? So this says x squared minus 25. There's only a first number and a last number. There's no middle number. And there usually is on these. So the question is, well, how can I combine these numbers in any way to get me no number? 25 plus 1 is 26. That's not no number. 1 minus 25 is negative 24. That's not it. 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 minus 5 is 0. That gives us 0. So a positive 5 and a negative 5 would multiply to give me negative 25, and it would also add to give me 0. So that has to be the answer. So I have x plus 5 and x minus 5. Why does that make sense? Well, let's reverse FOIL. Let's now multiply this out. The first term times the first term. X times x gives me x squared. The last term times the last term. 5 times negative 5 gives me negative 25. So we already look like the original. Now we just got to figure out what happens to the other numbers. So the first term times the last term, x times negative 5 would give me negative 5x. And 5 times x, the inner terms, would give me plus 5x. And what happens when you add negative 5x and positive 5x? You get 0, which means these cancel, which means you're left with x squared minus 25, which is what we started with. This is called... This actually don't have that much of a name, it's just factoring. Let's look at a different problem. And by the way, these are your notes. Y equals x squared plus 18x plus 81 is our next problem. X squared plus 18x plus 81. So, I'm going to do what I did last time and say, all right, I know my answer is going to have this. There will be 4 numbers in there. What times what gives me x squared? Well, I know it's going to be x times x, so I can go ahead and write that. Now, we say, all right, what times what gives me 81? Well, I've got 81, 1 times 81 starting at 1. 2 does not go into 81, but 3 does. 3 goes into 81. Is it 27? Yeah, 27 times. Well, you can't really read that. That's 3 and 27. I'm realizing a problem with this. 3 times 27, yeah. Then we say, okay, what's bigger than 3? 4, does it 4 go into 81? No. Does 5? No. 6? No. 7? No. 8? No. 9? Yes. 9 goes into it 9 times. And these numbers have gotten too close to each other, so I can't go any further. So I have 1 and 81, 3 and 27, and 9 and 9. How could I combine these numbers to give me 18x, or just 18? Well, I know 81 and 1 can't make 18. 3 and 27 can't, but I know 9 plus 9 gives me 18. So if I have a plus 9 and a plus 9, these multiply to give me 81. These multiply to give me x squared, and 9x plus 9x is going to give me 18x. So this is factored correctly. Let's say we change some signs around. Let's say that we had y equals x squared minus 6x minus, let's see, 16. No, 18. Yeah, 16? Yeah, 16. Okay, we have y equals x squared minus 6x minus 16. We would have to say, all right, let's go ahead and draw our 2 binomials, because that's how our answer is going to look. And we say, okay, x times x is x squared. Already know that. What times what gives me 16? Well, I've got 16 times 1. That's an easy one. 2 goes into it 8 times. 3 does not go into it, and 4 goes into it 4 times. These two numbers are now close together, so we're done. How can these numbers be combined to give me 6? Well, 16 minus 1 does not, nor does 1 minus 16. 8 minus 2 gives me 6. But 2 minus 8 gives me negative 6, which is what I'm looking for. So this has to be a positive 2 and a negative 8. So 2 minus 8 would give me positive 2 minus 8. And that should be our answer. Let's check it. Negative 8 times 2 gives me negative 16. Correct. Negative 8 combined with a positive 2 gives me negative 6. Correct. X times x gives me x squared. Correct. I am good to go. I'm going to give you a quick chart that should help you save some time when it comes to these signs. And after that, you will be free to work on some of these on your own for practice. So, we call this equation y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the first number you see is a, If it's just x squared, that means it's 1. The second number with the x we call b, and the third number that's by itself is c, standing for constant. If you have in this equation a plus and a plus, then your two parentheses, no matter what, are going to be a plus and a plus. You know that the two numbers are going to be added together. If you have a minus and then a plus in this equation, then your two numbers are going to be minus and minus. They're going to be the same. Why do we know that? Because the two numbers right here, if they're both negative and they multiply, they give you a positive number. So we know already that we're going to be adding, and we're going to be combining two negative numbers here to get our middle term. If the second number is negative, no matter what, whether it's plus minus or minus minus in this equation, your parentheses are going to be 1 plus and 1 minus. In other words, when we're looking at the factors and combining them, if the second sign is a plus in the equation, the signs are going to be the same. If the second sign is a minus, the signs are going to be different. So I've got some practice examples for you to do. I will be putting those up on your email alongside this video. I hope this helps. And on Wednesday, I will be sending you one that takes this a small step forward. If you have problems with it, please reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to talking to you soon. Know that you and your family are very much in all of our prayers here at HSA. We miss you. We look forward to seeing you. And again, you are in our prayers. Bye.